Hi there, this is Jacqueline with Nickel and Dime Decor. So glad you're here. Hope you're all doing well. It's the 1st of September, and I used to think, oh, please don't bring up Christmas in September. But when you craft and when you make things, when you sew, when you quilt, you do have to start in September, or don't start at all. You have to make preparations in advance. So I want to do something just very simple, and it's a pot holder. And I know that doesn't sound real creative, but this one is darling. And I'm going to show it to you. First of all, I'm going to show you where you can find it, because you're going to need the pattern. Because it has all the templates that you need. I'm sure this is on the newsstand or in Walmart. You can find it, surely. Quilters World, and it's the August 22, 2022. So it's a real new magazine. And you can go to quiltersworld.com. Or, like I say, look for it locally and see if you can find it on the news shelf, where all the books and magazines are. I don't know if Joann's has magazines. I don't know. But anyway, you're going to need the book to do this. Now, it's a cute, cute little... I'm doing the Christmas tree one. I love that. I think it's so, it's Christmassy without being over the top Christmassy, because I like the polka dots. I love that. And see, you're gonna get a page with the Christmas tree and with the circle for the, half circle for the shape of it, and for the little trunk. And when you get this, you want to be sure and make a copy of it, so that if you start cutting it out, you're still going to have a copy of it. So keep this as your always go-to and make you another copy. And then what I did is I have some plastic, real sturdy plastic. I got from a lady that passed away. I went to her estate sale, and she had the most marvelous wealth of information and things like this heavy-duty plastic, and I so appreciate everything I bought from her daughter. But you're going to want to make one of these out of the plastic, and just put it on the plastic and mark it, and cut you a template. It'll always be there. Put it in a Ziploc bag with the pattern, and anything that pertains to this pattern. Put it all in a Ziploc bag and put a picture of your project, and you're so organized if you'll do that. And you can always put your hands on it. You won't have to say, oh gosh, where did I put that? Just try to get yourself organized, okay? And then I cut out my tree. Now the tree is in 2 different sizes, and just cut it out the size that it is. And then for the smaller trees, you just cut a ½ inch off to make the 2 smaller ones. The larger one is in the middle, and then the 2 smaller ones are on the side. And then my little trunk, I got it. So I've got all of my templates done, ready to go. Now you're going to need a piece of Insulated and a piece of regular batting. Now, I want to stress this to you. I've made many, many mug rugs, and I find that people think it's for a hot pad. Mug rugs are not hot pads. If you make a truly a good hot pad, it should have the Insulated in it and a layer of batting. Your mug rugs only have the batting, but your mug rugs are for just a cup of coffee, and it's enough to protect your table. But a mug rug is not for a hot casserole out of the oven. So remember that. A mug rug is not a hot pad, and vice versa. Okay, so we have the Insulated, the batting, and then you cut. Now, I did this wrong. I failed. I read the instructions, but yet it must not have registered. And I cut out these circles. I already cut it out. And there I have my circle. The instructions say to cut the fabric into 9-inch squares. And then when you get through, put your template on and cut out your circle. I failed to do that. It's going to be okay. And let's see, Donna, Chris Malone is the one that created this for quilting, for Quilters World. And her instructions say different than what I'm doing. So if you want to make it by the instructions, which is a good idea, go for it. But I jumped the gun and I cut out my circles. And then you're going to need 2 of those. And then cut out, choose your fabric. If you'll notice on this fabric that she did 2 of them alike and the one in the middle is different. Well, just because I got to be different, I guess I did all 3 of them differently. That's up to you. You do whatever. Now, I'm going to put the camera down in a minute and show you, because I can't pick this up. But I've already got my trees placed and cut out and on my little circle. And I don't want to move it, so I'll move the camera in just a second. But I've already I use Pellon. I don't know if you know what that is, but that works the best for me. And all you do is put your template down. I put it on the rough edge and trace around it, and then put that to the back of my fabric. So I've done that. It's got that on there, and I've already peeled off the little backing. So therefore, what's on my little circle is ready for me to press and adhere it to the fabric. Then you're also going to need this one. Unlike a lot of my mug rugs are done where you don't have to have binding, but this has binding. Cute little black binding she put on there. And then she's got the little button at the top. Now, I couldn't find any fabric exactly like that. I really like that. It looks like a black snowflake star or something. So I just got the polka dot. And it's going to have to work. And it will work. It'll be fine. And that's all of your components. 2 of your either 9-inch squares or your circles. 2 of them, one for the top and one for the back. Your Insulated, your batting, your cut out your little trunks, and your binding. And that's all you need. Just a precious, precious little hot pad. Now, I'm going to, I don't think she did this either. And I'm not saying anything she did is wrong. please don't think I'm saying that. It's just that I'm doing things my way. But she wrote a wonderful pattern and go by the pattern, okay? But I am going to, when I go around on my machine, I'm going to do it on my machine. You can do this by hand, and you could do it pretty quick. But I'm going to make a blanket stitch all the way around my trees and trunks. And I'm gonna use my one deal of batting behind it, because I find when you do the blanket stitch, it needs to adhere to more than just one piece of fabric. It helps if you have something under it. So when I do my top and blanket stitch around the trees and the trunks, I'm going to have it on the batting. And then when we get that done, we will sandwich everything. And we'll put the top on, the Insulated, the batting, and the backing will be right side down. And then we'll put that all together, and then we'll do a little quilting. Now, when I say do a little quilting, this is already going to be quilted because of our blanket stitch. So all we're going to do is just do a little bit in here. And I found my, I'm going to just use part of it, like the straight line right here. I'm going to use that and just draw that little with my friction pen and just draw it around and weave in and out and in and out and in and out. And I'm going to do it with white thread. So it's not going to be all that noticeable, but yet it's going to be sufficient, and it's going to be kind of cute. So, I think that's all my instructions. Now I'm going to have to put the camera down here and show you everything a little bit better. And then I will adjust my camera and put it down here on really close so you can see the as I do one of the trees, what a blanket stitch is. And almost every machine, even those that don't have a whole lot of stitches, almost every one of them have a blanket stitch. It's just a stitch that goes to the outside of the fabric, bites a small piece into the tree, and then back out and makes a stitch on the outside, and then takes another bite. And it's just perfect precision. They're spaced so nicely and evenly. It's a beautiful stitch. And I have two sizes on my machine. And I think I'm going to do the bigger ones on the trees, but for the smaller, the trunks, I'm going to have to use the little bitty one. Okay, okay, I think you can see everything. Kind of crooked here. Let me adjust my camera. This is what I already have placed, and it's already on there, and I just don't want to move it, but I think you can see. I'm going to, like I said, do the blanket stitch all on the trees, and I'm going to use my larger stitch, and then I'm going to place it on this batting when I do it. And if you want to pin it, do you see how the middle tree, the trunk is a little bit, the tree is a little bit lower, and but yet they're pretty much even across here. Pretty much even across here. But the middle one is just a little bit lower. and the trunk is a little bit lower. And I'm going to press that on. Now, when you use Pell-On, it says to hold it for a good 10-15 seconds and for it to really adhere. This is, I don't know if I showed you a while ago, but this is for my binding. Now, I like it because it has a little bit of pattern to it. Not, you know, not a whole lot, but it's got some dimension to it. So, let me get my iron. This is my little portable ironing board. Works so nicely when you don't want to get up and down and up and down and up and down. And I am going to measure, and this is about a little over a ½ inch. And this is a little over ½ inch. So it's pretty much in the middle, I think. And I probably could move it up just a little bit because my binding is going to come real close to this black. So I think I will. I'm going to move that up just a hair. And of course your trunk should be in the middle. Okay. Now I can move that up just a fraction. Okay. Let's go. Now I'm going to do this in 2 different sections. Maybe 3. Yeah, it's going to be 3. I love Pell-On. It just works so nicely. I have never used anything else since. When something works for you, you just keep doing it. I'm not going to worry about all these little threads sticking out because when I do my blanket stitch, then if they're sticking out still, well, I'll trim them. Okay. Now I've got to set up my machine and change cameras and everything. And then we'll come back and I might do a couple of them and then, or I'll do one and then finish it. But I'm not going to do them all while you watch. But I do want you to kind of see while I do one of them, okay? So we'll be right back. I'm probably not close enough, but maybe you can see what I'm doing. I'm starting right here, down here on the end of this edge, well, the top of the edge. And my needle on this stitch, I want to start with it on the left-hand side on my fabric, just catching my fabric. And then when it goes over, it's going to go to the right and catch it just on the edge. I have my needle down and I want to, and make sure, see, it's right on the edge of my fabric, so that's good. I'm good to go. You can't go real fast because, well, you just can't. Maybe you can, but I can't. When I get to the end of this row, I'm going to show you how we turn the corner. And this has got a real sharp point to it, so I'm not real sure how I'm going to do it. I chose the smaller blanket stitch. I just felt like the other one was going to be too exaggerated, too much of an emphasis. I'm almost to the point. Okay. I'm going to do one more stitch. And there I stopped right at the very tip of it. And I'm going to scoot over just a fraction and see where my needle catches this. Okay, I need to go down just a little. Okay, now I'm ready to start. I'm going in the opposite direction. I'll take this out when I get down to here so you can see. And like I say, I'll go ahead and finish it, but there's no need to bore you by watching it. I love to do this stitch by hand, too. I like hand stitching, but it's not necessary. Not when you have a machine that can do such a beautiful job. And almost, like I say, almost any machine can. Now I'm going to stop right here. And I'm going to go back, and I'm going to take it out, just so you can see, okay? And use a little tiny pair of scissors like this that'll really clip down to the very, it does a wonderful job. You need some little pointed ones like that. And I think you'll find that using the batting on it, you can do it without it, but I think it just does a better job. See how pretty? It's just such a gorgeous stitch. I love it. Okay, I'm going to do all of the trees and all of the trunks, and then I'll be right back. Alrighty, there it is. Isn't that so pretty? You know what? Now that I've done it, this is how we learn when we make something. I think I would put my walking foot on my machine, if you have one. Put the whole thing together, sandwich it together, because look how pretty that would have been on the back side of the pot holder. Just, that's what I should have done. That's how we learn when we sew, is just to make that first one and then decide, hey, I think I could do this better, or I think I should have done this or should have done that. Okay, I'm going to put it all together. Then we're going to trim all the way around and put the binding on, and folks, we're done. And sew our little button on. I'll just hot glue it on or pretend it's on there. Won't take the time to sew it on. But you see how simple and how sweet this is. Just so precious. All right, I shall be right back. Okay, I want to show something to you. Another point in case of what we learned. I cannot trim this out because I cannot see if this is exactly to the bottom one. You see what I'm saying? I can't. So I'm going to trim this out. Put this on here. And trim that out. Then I will sandwich it together. Alrighty, it's not sewn yet, and when it's sewn, it won't be quite so, you know, kind of puckered up. And we'll sew this by hand. And when you're sewing something like this by hand, you just sew right to that, where that seam is. Just cover that seam. And then whip it down. And then we'll put our little button on there, wherever it disappeared to. And it's done. Just the cutest little thing in the world. And I hope you'll make it. You'll make such cute gifts for Christmas. Thank you for watching. God bless. Well, do me, I just realized that I didn't quilt it in here. But you know what? I'm going to do that by hand because I like to hand quilt, and I'm still going to use that template. This, and just put a few little wiggles in around and put it on. But if you want to do it on your machine, remember to do it before you put your binding on. I guess it could still possibly be done. It could. You could stick it under your machine and still do it. As I always tell you, do as you're told, not as the teacher does sometimes, but not as I do, but as I tell you. So anyway, now we're through, for sure and for certain. Thank you again, and God bless. Okay, I want to show you, because you might be a beginner and you don't know this. I want to show you what cutting out bias strips for your binding means. It means to cut them on an angle. Here's your straight line. Let's change the camera so you see. Here's your straight line, but you want to cut your 2.5-inch strips at an angle. Just measure your 2.5 inches and cut. And you will have your strips on a bias. That's what that means. And it gives you some give. And when you're going around in a circle, you have to have that give. Okay? When I joined my pieces, all I did was put right sides together, just sewed a straight 1/4-inch seam. I didn't piece them together like I do when I'm making a quilt or something like that. This is just a pot holder. So that's what I did. I just pieced it together, sewed it together in a 1/4-inch seam. And that's how I joined my pieces.